Not since 1973 with Eddie Merckx have we had a rider win two monuments and a Grand Tour in the same season. And not since Bernardino have we had someone win Il Lombardia and the Tour de France in the same year. That is how big Tadej Pogacar's win today has been. Il Lombardia this year. I'm James Talksport. I'll take you through the action and my reaction to the 2021 Il Lombardia. It's a very different route to the last few years this year, with normally the Mura del Somano being the sort of figureheads of the race. Very different this year, but very much on paper at least set out for the attacks from really the Dossena. You could have had attacks to the line. However, the climbs weren't really hard enough to break up the race. We saw attempts from Paulus, Teo Gegenhardt, Sivakov, Tulit, but nothing was going to get away from Quickstep or Jumbo Visma on those climbs. They weren't hard enough to get rid of. Cohen Bauman, George Bennett, Dries Devenans, and even Fausto Masnada. So it really came down to the Colle al Puerto. Good climb. It was one of the longer climbs of the race, which was nice. Where it started off with a few attacks. Nibali was the first one to kick things off, and then Tadej Pogacar followed Sivakov and Bardet, and amazingly, Alaphilippe and Roglic and Yates, the other three big favourites, were just letting go. They didn't. They didn't allow. They didn't follow. They didn't chase. Evenepoel had already been dropped at that point, so it was really down to Quickstep to chase. They chased with Fausto Masnada. They got to the top of the climb about 30 seconds behind Pogacar. Then strangely, then set Masnada off up the front to chase him down. On home roads, he got back on the descent. But obviously, out of the two, Pogacar's the better sprinter. All the while, the Alaphilippe group was sitting on Jonas Vingegaard on the descent, and that grew out to 40-50 seconds. Question of will Masnada work? He wanted to, but then he was told not to. The cohesion at 11k to go in the peloton, in the chase group behind started. Everyone's apart from Alaphilippe was working well together for about 3k. Then someone missed a turn. I think it was Gaudu or Bardet, and cohesion just exploded. Pogacar went on to the final climb, paced it to ensure that Masnada didn't attack. He tried, but was never going to get rid of Pogacar. And in the group behind, Alaphilippe, Bardet, Gaudu, Woods all dropped Yates and Roglic. They looked like they were going to roll in together. So came to the sprint for the line, and Pogacar was never going to be beaten there. As I said, Pogacar becomes the first guy since Bernardino to win Il Lombardia and the Tour in the same year. Two monuments with Liège and Lombardia. He's a good sprinter. He was not going to be beaten. Masnada will be happy with a fantastic second place in his home city, and the group behind was playing around, which led Roglic to do a fantastic lead out for Adam Yates, who came home in third place. So that was the route, that was the action. I'm going to take you through a few key talking points that I saw in the race now. My first point is that I've already said it, but the route really wasn't hard enough to create any meaningful gaps from the attackers, but it also wasn't hard enough to get rid of the domestiques. At the base of the final climb, Quickstep still had Evenepoel, Alaphilippe, their two leaders, Almeida, Masnada, Devenans, and Baggioli. So they weren't. Alaphilippe wasn't a threat. Threatened to. Roglic still had George Bennett. I think it was Jonas Vingegaard and maybe even Sam Ehrman at one point as well. Ineos still had Castro, Sivakov, and Teo for Yates, and Pogacar still had Formolo, Micah, and somebody else for UAE. So it wasn't really hard enough to break up the race. My second point is that Pogacar was clearly the strongest, and why wouldn't he be? He's had the best season from a rider in a long time. UAE, Tirreno, they're on the podium in Basque Country, won Liège, won the Tour, and now Il Lombardia. So great season. He was always going to win that sprint. The third point is about the kind of quick step tactics because I think they got it massively wrong today in allowing Masnada, who yes got a fantastic result, one of the results of his career, but they were never going to win with him. And with someone like Alaphilippe, if Masnada had stayed with them, and then Vindegaard and Masnada were trading turns, and then the other riders were trading turns on the run into the climb in Bergamo, it may have been very different. A group is always easier to catch a lone rider. It's always easier because they're working together, they're sharing the effort. And I thought personally that would have been better than sending Masnada up because he didn't work. At the end of the day, Masnada didn't work because Alaphilippe was behind, and Alaphilippe didn't work because Masnada was up the road. So they put themselves in a catch-22 situation and lost. And didn't even Alaphilippe didn't even get on the podium. So yeah, my fourth talking point was the lack of aggression from teams. Yes, you had Ineos and EF with Paulus try, but but there wasn't really many teams that were like, right, we're going to send you away, then we're going to send you away. Then even on that final climb, you had ones and twos pinging off, but no team was like, right, we are going to set a pace, and then we're going to attack. DSM tried with Benoit then Bardet. Quickstep tried with Masnada, and then Alaphilippe attacked towards the top of the climb with Adam Yates. But was that the route? Was that the riders and the fatigue over the last few weeks in the season? I think probably a combination of the two, but it was a shame to not see an aggressive race because we've been blessed with aggressive racing this year. So there we have it, the monuments and the majority of the big races of the season, of the road season done. We've got Paris Tours, which is always an interesting race to watch. As long as I hope they've kept those gravel sectors in because that makes it really entertaining to watch. So you'll see me in the coming days, coming weeks with some race reviews, season reviews, and a build up to the big cyclocross season, which the World Cup starts in America tomorrow. So, thank you very much for watching my review of Il Lombardia. Please like and subscribe, and if you agree, disagree with any of my comments, please feel free to comment down below, and I'll love to chat to people about racing. Thank you, and I'll see you next time on James Talk Sport.